Hello and welcome to another Total Education Centre lecture. This evening I'd like to talk to you about texts of your own choosing and how to go about integrating those into your work and choosing those texts. Now we all know now that the board recommends that we have texts of our own choosing, and you'll need to find, I think, perhaps 2 at minimum, 3 is better, and work those in with your set text. You really need to think about what sort of material you're going to get, and my recommendation for that is, of course, if you're doing, for example, a novel, you choose related texts that are different to a novel so you can show your full range of abilities and skills. Now that's important, and if we have a look at the examiner's comments about related material, you'll see why. I'll just read you a couple of examples of what the board and the examiner's comments have said about related material. And you need to take this into good, solid consideration and work your way through it. Replay the video that you're watching now, go through that material very clearly, and pay attention to these because these will assist you in getting better marks. Let's have a look. It says, in 2009, another feature of the stronger responses was the discerning choice of one piece of related material. Related texts that enable candidates to enhance or strengthen their arguments through the subtle comparisons or stark contrast marked out these better scripts. It was evident from the responses that some candidates found it difficult to sustain a detailed argument because they had restricted themselves to related material that offered little scope for discussion and analysis in the light of comment and question. And that's really important. And when you think about that, the word contrast there strikes me as something that's very important. And too often students choose texts that are exactly the same as their set text from the board, and the essay is very pedestrian and boring because of that, and they can't show their full range of skills and abilities. I'd like to read you another examiner's comment, and then we'll build on what they're saying and build on those ideas and make sure that our related texts are going to get us the maximum possible marks in the HSC. The board said, stronger responses made discerning choices in their related material by using texts which enabled them to comprehensively engage with the demands of the question. These responses discussed the features of these texts in a skillful manner by concentrating on the qualities unique to their selected medium and integrating these into the discussion of the core text and question requirements. So let's go back and we'll work through those. And I think the most important thing in that second reading was the integration of the medium. And I said previously that, I think if you're, say, working on a novel, you should be looking at film or another form, drama, or just something different to show the full range of abilities and skills. Often I'm asked when I go around lecturing and discussing this material, should I use what the teacher's given me or should I choose my own text? Now, that very much depends. I mean, teachers often give out class sets of material, and I think it's a mistake to use those personally unless you're very unsure or lack confidence in what you're doing, because it does say text of your own choosing. And if you're a marker and you get 20 in a row of exactly the same thing, they do become quite pedestrian and boring. And I think just for your own benefit and for the sake of getting and maximising your marks, that you should choose things unique to you and things that suit you. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we move along. Related texts of your own choosing don't have to be the same. They don't have to be exactly the same. So for example, if you're doing something on, your set text talks about discovering racism, well, you don't necessarily have to have something that specifically talks about discovering racism. Remember that it's about discovery, and you can meld things in thematically. Not all texts offer discovery, and some texts you may not like, and I think you'll find that a text that links in a significant way to you and the set text is the best thing. Always have your own thoughts and write on something that you like rather than something that you think might get you a good mark. It's very important that you're writing about things that you like and you can understand and develop all the way through on that line of thought, and they blend in so your essay flows rather than is very static. So what makes a good related text? Well, the first thing, of course, is that it works with your related, or your prescribed text. A good related text works well with a prescribed text because it presents ideas that are very similar, and they don't have to be, specifically the same, but they do have to blend in the same way. I've already talked about, of course, choosing it yourself, and I think choosing things yourself is very important, and you should work that way. Now, with form, I've already commented on, look for a different form, because it's very important that you explore different techniques specific to that form. Examples are, you might choose songs, and then you can talk about the lyric and the music. You could look at a piece of art. Some good answers have talked about different pieces of art, and you can talk about the different devices, and that shows your full range of skills and abilities. Also, watch your length. Be very selective in what you do. I think it's important that, if you're doing something really long and you're reading a novel, that you don't do another novel. But also the idea of reading is, you're doing too much. You just need to be very careful and selective in what you do. And you need to focus very carefully on maximising your marks and choosing the correct medium and working on the techniques involved in that. You should also write on your related text quite frequently. I think you'll find that the best way to analyse it down and work out if it is a good text at all is to write continuously about it and focus on writing what comes out about discovery, and that's very important. You'll soon work, if you do a few practice questions and old questions with that set text, that you'll find that you'll work it and see if it works very well for you. And you should also, as I said, choose 2 or 3 and write on each of those and work out which one suits you, because you need, as those responses show from the board, you need to be able to integrate it and work it into your essay just to maximise your marks. It's important that with your related text, there's other things that you have to do as well. Once you've found it, once you've worked out how you're going to link it into your essay, what the themes are, and in this case, of course, it's discovery, but what's specifically about discovery or not discovery, as some people say, how do I work it in? Do some old papers, do separate questions, think about very carefully, see which one works best for you. So what don't you do with your related text, of course, is another question that I'm frequently asked, and there are several things that you shouldn't do with your related text, and one is that you just don't tell the story. And I know it's easy to fall into the trap of retelling a story, and often if you've got a film or a novel that you're working on, you think that the marker needs to know the full story, but that's not necessarily the case, and you can probably briefly outline it very quickly. So what you really should do is choose 2 or 3 very specific incidents or sections or episodes or whatever chapters in that film, and work on those very closely, and then work your techniques through those and use those as your specific examples. And I think that's a far, far better way to approach it, and that gets you away from that storytelling principle. What else can we do? Don't spend too much time on that related text. It's very important that you balance your essay. I know you'll choose something that you like after listening to this lecture, so work through that very carefully, and don't spend all your essay talking about your related text. Don't forget that the prescribed text is still the most important text you're studying, and you need to focus very carefully on that prescribed text. So don't make your essay unbalanced. What else? You also need to remember to link that your related text to the prescribed text very carefully, and make sure those links are very clear to the examiner. You need to make sure that everything flows, and if your paragraphs are linking together and your ideas are linking together, that shouldn't be too difficult. What else shouldn't you do? It's a great concern about the simplicity and unsophisticated manner of some text, and you should choose something that you can maximise your marks and get the most out of. If you're choosing something like a picture book, you need to be able to talk about it in a very sophisticated and very specific way and analyse it in that manner. Don't forget that the language that you use for your related text and the text that you choose has to be as complex in its vocabulary as you do for your set text. What else? The best way to do this is to work yourself out a little summary sheet and work through that very carefully and make sure that you've got all the analysis that you need for that. So how would I do that? Well, I'd look at a very brief summary of the text, and I would ensure that I could summarise my text in about a paragraph, just to give the marker a general overview of what's supposed to be happening and how that's going to evolve out. Place it in some sort of context, and that might be very brief, might only be a sentence or two, and not as important as it would be in one of the other modules, of course. Then you link to Discovery. Make sure you've got that very deliberate link to Discovery, or links to Discovery, in a thematic and common way. Don't forget, then you need to link it to your prescribed text, and you do that basically in that same way. And make sure in all these cases that you have quotations and very, very specific references. Also, it's very important to include and make sure that those techniques are there, and you've included those and relate back to those. And then don't forget, it asks for your own opinions, the composer's opinion. What are they saying about Discovery, and what have you gained from Discovery? That's about all we have time for tonight, and that's just a brief overview of texts of your own choosing and how to manipulate those. In the next lecture, we'll probably look at the essay and developing the material for that essay. Don't forget, these lectures are brought to you by the Total Education Centre. Don't forget to visit our website, totaleducationcentre.com.au, for all your educational needs. You'll find plenty of material there to help you and assist you with your studies. My name's Bruce Pattinson. Thank you for listening, and good night.